So there's a whole host of questions and masail presented with the isti'adha, books written on it, but we'll be brief. One of the questions that arises is the isti'adha fard, obligatory, or is it optional? Now, you'll be surprised what the tabi'in and the atba' at-tabi'in said. One of the a'immatul amsar, who was the imams of the cities, Ata ibn Abi Rabah, and I think he was the Imam of Medina before the Madahib emerged. This man was a dark-skinned black man, hunched back, a crippled man, and he was the Imam, the leader of the Ummah of Islam of Medina of his time. And Hajj was not allowed to be started until Ata arrived and proclaimed it is now time for Hajj. In fact, they had people lined up with tambourines, like a little display of respect that the esteemed scholar of Islam is approaching of Medina. Like Hassan al-Basri was the Mufti and Imam of Basra, Sa'id ibn Musayyib, if I'm not mistaken, of Medina, and so forth and so on. Of all these Imams, the majority were slaves. Slaves ruled the Muslim world. It was only one Imam in Medina who was not a slave, a Qurashi. Nonetheless, according to Ata ibn Abi Rabah, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the isti'adha is fard. Can you believe it? It's fard, obligatory, for every recitation. Meaning, you cannot start with Bismillah, you must start with A'udhu Billah. Regardless of whether you are in the prayer, he says, كانت في الصلاة أو في غيرها. Whether you are in the salah or outside of the salah, al-isti'adhatu wajibatun li kulli qira'ah. The isti'adha is fard, unnecessary, obligatory, with every recitation. The other opinion by the Tabi'i Ibn Sirin, who we mentioned previously, is that إذا تعوذ الرجل مرة واحدة في عمره فقد كفى في إسقاط الوجوب. He says that if a person were to say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم مرة واحدة في عمره, just once in his life, فقد كفى, that will suffice for that person. He does not have to say it again. He has, in other words, he says في إسقاط الوجوب, he has discharged the obligation. And he goes, Fakhr Razi goes on to say, وَقَالَ الْبَاقُونَ, the rest of the scholars say, إِنَّهَا غَيْرُ وَاجِبَةٌ, it is not wajib at all. But the point here is the diversity of opinions. And here I want us to focus on that. There was no one way, it's my way or the highway, it's just my way. You are all going to Jahannam if you don't follow my way. And I want to emphasize on that and conclude shortly with a point of, and I'll mention a personal experience of how somebody belittled a person because their accent was different. You know, we have a lot of people saying A'udhu Billah, and where it's supposed to be A'udhu Billah, and we ridicule and insult people because of their accent. And I'll touch on that later on. So the majority, it's not an obligation, and they base this on the famous hadith where the Prophet was teaching a Bedouin to Salah. And it's a long hadith, and this hadith is used a lot in fiqh books. And the Prophet continuously tells the Bedouin, repeat your Salah, repeat your Salah, repeat your Salah. But nowhere in this lengthy hadith is the isti'adha mentioned at all. But the scholars say that lack of mentioning something like the isti'adha in that particular hadith does not necessarily entail it being non-obligatory, because we have to look at other sources in addition to this one major source to confirm whether it is obligatory or not. Nonetheless, let's look at the adillah or the proofs of Ata ibn Abi Rabah, who said that it is obligatory in every recitation, in Salah and out of Salah, in our next clip, insha'Allah ta'ala.